Greetings, salutations, and all good things in between. What's up, everyone? Matt here. Happy Friday. You have been having a good week. Hope you're getting a lot of stuff done. Starting to get a little cold out there. We've had some nice days. This is some footage from a couple of years ago, but I found it in the archives and was like, wow, that's pretty dope. Thought I'd throw it up there. So, what do we got in store for this week, right? Well, I got a blog post that I put out this week. I'm going to talk about that. There's been some pretty good news. There's some pretty helpful things have come about from AppSheet, so gonna go over those. Some good comments from everybody on YouTube. And for the deep dive, I'm gonna take shopping cart and I'm gonna upgrade that to number 8. We're gonna include multi-user functionality. Yeah, buddy. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. I do appreciate it. If you're new, like, subscribe, do all that stuff. I appreciate you being here. All right, enough of that. Let's get to it. Welcome to the show, everyone. Thanks for being here. I appreciate y'all. So, first thing I'm going to go over. Earlier this week, I put out a new blog post. This is actually something that I put out a while ago, and it was on AppSheet Insider, and then I kind of closed that down as I'm revamping with things. So I took it from there, and I put it on my website onto a blog that I'm trying to get a regularity in putting posts out. One every 2 weeks, maybe. We'll see. But there's a very common thing that people want to do is, eventually you're going to want to send a link to somebody, right? That they can click on and it will take them directly into the app to a specific record, maybe in a specific view, right? I want to be able to put that in an email. I want to be able to put that in a text message. I want to in a push notification. You name it, whatever. I need an external link that somebody can click on that will take them into the app to a specific record in a specific view. I've put together a blog post that shows the formula that you need to use in order to construct the hyperlink that you want to use. It's not as straightforward as you're thinking. You actually have to manually construct this thing, but the bits and pieces are relatively straightforward. I have all of the details over on my blog. Link maybe down in the description. Maybe I haven't put that there yet, but it'll get there eventually. I'll go over this blog post really quick. The magic to making this happen is all about this hyperlink formula here. And you can see that there's two parts. So there's the hyperlink, and then there's really the part that's doing all of the heavy lifting here. This giant concatenate. This concatenate is the thing that's actually building the formula that we're trying to use. And you can see here what it does is, so you have to put in your app URL here, and in the blog post I have all kinds of details and screenshots that show you how to get this, what you need to use, what you can ignore, all that good stuff. So head on over there to get the details. But you need to add your app URL, and then there's some stuff that needs to be added, and then the ID of the column that you want to use. We encode that as a URL, and then the name of the table that ID, that record is from, and then the name of the view that you want to view this in. And that's really all you got to do. The secret sauce here is all of these little code bits in the middle. These are all of the URL parameters that you can apply to the URL. Like if you're opening something in the web browser, right? You get a URL for that. This generates that URL. The cool thing here is that if you have AppSheet installed on your device and I click that link, AppSheet recognizes that I've clicked on an AppSheet link, and it opens AppSheet. It takes me directly into the app in the device. It doesn't take me to a web page for the thing. So that's pretty nice. Obviously, if I'm on a web browser, if I'm in a PC like this, obviously it's going to take me to the website. But anyways, besides the point, the magic here is this formula, and you can put this formula inside any external thing that you want to do, right? And since I've wrapped this whole thing in a hyperlink, you can even specify the little text that you want to use, like click here to view whatever, you know what I mean? So blog post over at multitechvisions.com. Check it out. All of the necessary bits that you need to know how to do in order to get all of this sort of stuff done. I got pro tips in here for things that you should do in order to make it easier for you to do. Head on over there and check it out. At the end of the post, I also have a few links to where I originally got this sort of magnets. Magnets. I have a link here to the post where I originally got this formula. Got it from Steve. He's the man. Oh man. Thanks, Steve. And then there's another post here by, I don't want to misrepresent who did this, so I will just click on it and go to it and give the appropriate credit when it loads. But this is a meta post where all of the different URL parameters that you can apply, Greenflux did this. Thanks, buddy. This is a post that'll show you how you can apply all of these different parameters to the URL. So it's not just the name of the table, the name of the view, and the name of the record that you want to go to. You can also do things like grouping and sorting and default values. Like if you're going to a form, you can do all kinds of craziness. And this post here will show you how to do it. Link at the bottom of my blog post. Check it out when you get a chance. All right, that's all I got for updates. Let's move on to the comments. I'm going to keep the comments pretty short this week. There was a lot of really good discussions that have been going on over certain topics. But I'm going to leave those out. The one that I'm going to cover today is a nice little fun one. Let's see. There we go. It comes from Julian Vowen, and it's about that video that I put out that said, hey, did you know that you can check inventory on your smartwatch? Like, you got a smartwatch? Did you know that you can get your AppSheet apps on this thing and it'll totally work? That's a thing. Oh yeah. And so he asked me, or she, sorry, don't know. They asked me, Julian, I have a Samsung smartwatch and would love to do this. How did you manage this magic? Well, I was preparing, I should say, to give you a demonstration on how that works. But since we have this time, since I'm in the United States and we recently just passed a law to do away with the daylight savings thing, there's a lot of that's going on in computer systems right now. And today was the day that my watch decided that it was going to try and fix all of this by downloading some app. And it's not working. So I've been trying to send myself. So, okay, the easiest way to do this. So the thing is, so your smartwatch should have on it an internet browser. Like there should be an app on your watch that is an internet browser. Okay, that's all it takes right there. An AppSheet app can be opened in any web browser and it runs as a progressive web app. This is a web browser. It's like, this is an Android one, you know, it's not iOS, so it's just running Android. It's like a smartphone. So all I did was easily get a link to the app that I wanted to use on my smartwatch. And the way I did that is I just emailed myself the URL link to open the app. Like I just sent that to myself in an email so that I'd get the notification on my watch, so then I could open the notification and it would give me the brief little summary of the email, which has a link in it. And I can click the link and then that will open that app in my web browser on my watch. And there you go. Happy days. That's how it works. Things that I'll throw out there. This is a very small screen. It is extremely small. In reality, you only have space on the screen for one deck view item at a time. And if you try to do anything with a table view, the lines are too small to like accurately get to make sure, like if I'm gonna tap on the you know what I mean? This is a pretty fine thing. So a deck view works best because it gives you a larger thing to tap on. You can generally only see 1.5 of the deck view items, but I mean, you can easily scroll and then tap on the thing. Swipe actions still work with the deck view. Like the deck view is really kind of the one to centralize when you're doing such a small interface like this. But yeah, that's how I did that. If you were going to build an interface for your smartwatch, you might want to go about things a different way because it's really small. So you want your labels to be like small, almost non-existent, so that the label isn't taking up all of the space on the screen. You know what I mean? So there's certain design practices that you might want to follow to try and make things really, 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 really small. Anyways, that's how you do that. It's just all about getting the link to the app that you want to use on your smartwatch, and then there you go. Happy days. Should work on iOS as well because you have there's a web browser on that as well. It'll probably work better, to be honest, because that web browser is going to be better than the one that I have here. I know that for a fact. Anyways, that's the only thing that I'm going to go over this time. I have big plans for this deep dive that I'm going to go into, so stick around for that. Make sure that if you have questions, you got burning things you're working on, you want to know how to do, drop them in the chat. I will be answering those at the end of the live stream. I appreciate y'all. All right, that's all for this. Let's move on to AppSheet news. There's been some big things, some very helpful things. All right, the first thing that I'm going to go over is this is one of these things that's probably on a variable release schedule, so you might not have seen this update, or maybe you've seen this for a long time and I'm just the person that's just getting it now. But you may have noticed that when you're inside your app, if you're ever looking at something like this, where it's for this data and then I have the name of a table or the name of a slice, this little eyeball thing has started appearing now. Have you noticed these things? They're actually all over the place. Basically any instance where you've got a table, and a lot of instances where you've got a column. So like for instance, if I come down here and we say, so this is the sort by, so I'm obviously selecting a column. I got a little eyeball on this guy too, showing me whatever you want to do there, right? Now the real nice thing about this, the real nice thing is like when you click on this eyeball, check out what it does. It gives you like that column setting thing. So you don't have to like go to the thing and then like in order to get back, I'm going to hit the browser back button in order for me to get back where, no, you don't have to do that anymore. Like a few years ago, I remember there was I don't remember who made the thing, but they were like, it'd be great if we could get these sort of things to pop up and then just like go away, just pop up right where they are. They finally got around to it. So when you got a column, you can click and it'll bring up the little column, so you can change the column settings, do whatever you need to do here. If you need to go and see the actual data itself, there's a big button up here where you can click and it will take you to that table. You can use the browser back button to get right back where you were, which I know they're trying to get us to stop doing, but hey, whatever works. Same thing for data. If I want to view, so this is a slice, it brings up the same sort of window for the slice. And then like, oh, I want to go to this table. And oh, look, it gave me a modal for just the table. And now look it up here. So they even gave us a few things that like we need to be able to do. Like, okay, I'm looking at this, but now I want to see this in the data source. Well, they've given us some buttons up here that we can tap on. Cool. Click here, open the source. Happy days. I need to add a virtual column. Yay, happy days. Like they've given us the core things that we needed to be able to do here. And they're all here. Oh, Have you noticed these? Like, oh man, look at this. Like, oh, you can go to that column. This, like when this showed up on my thing, like there was a moment where I was like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, yo, yeah, like celebrate, run around the house. Ah, like, yeah, man, this is going to save so much clicking around, trying to struggle to get where you're trying to get to, do what you're trying to do. Like, I've got this, I'm trying to find an action that'd be a good one. Okay, like I have the update. Oh, okay, all right, so it doesn't happen here. It doesn't happen on the, this yet. I guarantee it's coming. But like, all right, how about, nope, that's like a link to form. I'm looking for something where like I'm creating a record in the background. Do I have a ref new? No, I don't think I do. All right, well then let's just create one real quick. So if I'm adding a thing to a new table to that. Oh yeah, no, this one doesn't. These don't have it yet. Pretty sure that'll pop up. Anyways, that's the one that's got me really excited is that one. That news, the new thing that came out in the platform. Huh. Cutting down so many clicks, so much hassle to get around where you're trying to go. The next thing that I'm going to talk about, you may have noticed, there was an announcement inside the community where they're talking about that they are updating their support plans, meaning I have a version of some Android thing, you know, if some Android app for the AppSheet app is running on here. That version of the AppSheet app that I've downloaded, right? Let's say I've got version 8, right? Okay, well, they're only going to support version 8 for so long. This has always been a thing. It's always been a thing, but it was never really clearly communicated how long things were going to be supported for. They're making an effort to clear all of that up now. So if I just go through here and I'll just read this out, just for simplicity's sake, right? So hello, AppSheet community. We're making changes to our support plan for mobile devices running on Android and iOS in order to ensure an optimal experience for users of your AppSheet apps and to provide you with a more consistent support timeline for specific Android and iOS versions. So what are the support plan changes that are happening? Okay, from now on, AppSheet will support its native app versions on the Play Store and the App Store for 2 years. In the past, this timeline was never clearly communicated. So when I go to the App Store on my phone and I download the AppSheet app, okay, whatever version I just downloaded on that device, that version from the point when I downloaded it will be supported for 2 years, or at least the point when it's released is probably when it keys off of. So the support for that version of the app will be supported for 2 years. Okay. Moving forward, AppSheet will be supported on Android and iOS versions for 5 years after the last minor OS update. To ensure an optimal experience, we will no longer support mobile devices outside of this OS support window. Users with OS versions that are no longer supported will stop receiving updates to their Play Store and App Store AppSheet apps until they upgrade their OS. Until today, our documentation stated that AppSheet was supported on Android 5 or higher and on iOS 11.0 or higher. Combined together, these support... Ooh, sorry. Let me oh, I'm on the wrong page. That's why. Let me zoom down a little bit. Here we go. Combined together, these support plan changes mean that AppSheet apps won't run on devices with iOS and Android versions that are greater than 7 years old. After that timeline, app users will need to upgrade their OS version to run AppSheet. In addition, app users who do not update their AppSheet app from the Play Store or from the App Store automatically will be prompted to do so once support has ended, meaning 2 years after we release them. As an example, the following diagram shows the support timeline for users on iOS 15 and Android 12, assuming a device cannot have its OS upgraded beyond these versions. So if we look at this, so if we follow the iOS path, so iOS 15 is released on June in 21. So then we've got a last minor update is done. And from the point of this last minor update, there is a 5-year span when they will continue to support this iOS 15 version of the app that you have. After the 5 years, AppSheet will stop giving updates to that version. And then 2 years after that, the AppSheet device will stop running. Same timeline for Android things. So if we follow the Android version of this, and we just say, so we've got Android version 12 that was released in October of 21. So March of 22 was the last minor update. So from March of 22 until March of 27, that's a 5-year window, AppSheet will continue to give the App Store updates for that version of the app. After March 27th, that's the 5-year window cutoff, it will stop updating the app. And then for 2 years, the app will continue to run. But then after those 2 years, the app will stop working. All of this makes sense if you think about it. If your OS version on your device is over 7 years old, there are so many security risks inside that OS version now because it's been out for so long. So many exploits have been found. So many exploits have been communicated to other hackers or nefarious people out there, and they've taken what somebody's told them they can do and they've run with it, and somebody else has run with it, and somebody else has run with it. Just think, over all of that time, how many of these bad players out there are doing these things that somebody could inadvertently fall into. That's why you need to keep updating your devices, because security things and this, that, and whatever. So this is AppSheet making an attempt, not really an attempt, doing it, giving us a clear outline of all of the changes and support things that are going down. So if we finish off the rest of this post, what does this mean for app creators and app users? Well, starting on December 1st, 2022, when they open the app, your app users will see a prompt to update their AppSheet app to the latest version from the Play Store or App Store. After the app is updated, they will be able to use it for another 2 years until the end of 2024, regardless of their current OS. That would be Android 5 or higher and iOS 11 and higher. This is kind of an important bit here. We recommend that you inform your app users that they will be prompted to perform regularly scheduled updates to guarantee an optimal experience. Other than that, there is nothing for you to do with respect to your apps you develop, the apps you have developed, and the things that are making that you make available through AppSheet native apps. However, if you own a branded application, aka you've white labeled something, you will also want to know about our support plan changes for these types of apps, which can be found in a separate announcement. The announcement over there, I won't read through this one specifically, but what they're talking about in this white label announcement here is the fact that all of these updates you need to make to the app that you've uploaded into the Play Store, right? Because the way white labeling works is you get a compiled file that is the APK, right? And you got to take that, and that's the file that you upload to the Play Store, and that's the file that everybody's downloading, which means that file's not updating itself. Like, that's an old file. In 2 years, that file is the same file it was 2 years ago. You, as the developer of a white labeled app, are responsible for maintaining this sort of, I need to keep updating the app in the Play Store so that it's current. That's what this announcement here for the white label thing is saying. Let me know if you have any further questions about this. I'd be happy to dive in and see what any nuance that needs to be figured out for this. By all means, you let me know what you want to know, and I'll figure out what I can. All right, that's all the news for this week. Let's move on to the deep dive. All right, so what are we doing in the deep dive this time? Obviously there's a lot of upgrades that I would like to make to the shopping carts video, or to the shopping cart app. There's a lot of different areas, a lot of different ways that we can go. There's a lot of new functionality that I want to include inside this. And if I just give you, really quick, a little list, if I just give you a list of the things that I have planned for the future, I have multi-user functionality. That's what I'm doing today. I have print to PDF. I have emailing to people, a weekly summary. I have inventory, as in like I want to be able to do audits. I want to be able to do an inventory count and keep an accurate number of how much we have subtracted from all of the. I want to do payments. I want to do like payments as in just in the app recording that something has been paid, either just individually or a group payment for a whole bunch of orders. And then once that's in place, then I want to integrate Stripe so that when somebody orders something, it'll initiate a Stripe order, send them an email, they can pay it. When they pay it, Stripe will send a thing back. You know what I mean? These are all the things that I have planned for this shopping cart app. These are things that people have asked me for, things that I see as a natural progression that this app can go on. If you have any ideas for other functionality that you would like to see, I know discounts was another one that I forgot to write down on here, but I have big plans for discounts. Anything else that you'd like to see, let me know in any of the shopping cart videos or in this live stream or anywhere like that. Also, I've got the other evolution series. I've got the inspection app, which I just started. I haven't done anything. Big plans for that. I've got the enhanced dashboard sample app. I've got the report builder app. So all four of these are things that I would like to continue to evolve over time. So for any of those, if you have ideas for functionality that you would like to see, let me know what they are. I will get them on the list. I am working on putting together a way to where each week people can vote for what they want me to do next, and a place where people can see what are the modules that are coming up, and maybe a schedule when you can see when the module will be added. I'm trying to get a little more organized about this because I've got a lot I want to do. Let's get to it. This first thing, what am I doing? I'm talking about taking the shopping cart and making it to where multiple people can use it. So right now, this app is designed around the idea of I have this building order over here, and this building order is specific to the user that's using the app. However, this app is not built in a way where I could have two people using the app at the same time. If that was to happen, the app is assumed it's being used by one person. So when two people would look at it, they would both see the same order that's being done, like the building order that's being completed. They would both see that. And since AppSheet's based on asynchronous activity, and each device is basically its own isolated little silo when it's working, when one person makes updates to the order, the other person won't immediately see those updates. They will lag behind, right? Because the person that made the changes, those changes need to go to the cloud, and then the person that needs to see them, they need to get the information from the cloud. There's a lot of steps involved in that. There's a lot of time involved in that if you're trying to do things in real time, doesn't work very well. Okay, so what do we need to do then in order to make this app to where I could have any number of people using it, and each person is isolated to their own individual orders? Okay, The general order, the general list of things that I need to do is my thing is broken. There we go. Sorry, I was having technical difficulties. The general things that we need to do here is I have a list that I put together right here. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to add in the user table. We need to add in a user table because in order for the system to know who's who, right? And I'm building this based on the premise of I want things secure. So people are going to log into the system. Maybe in a future version of this, I'll build one where it's not built secure, where it's built being a public version, but I can still have this sort of differentiation type thing and still tie it into a system that would be secure. I'll do that in another live stream. If people want to see it, let me know in the comments below. So for a secured order system, right? First thing I would do is I need to obviously add the user table. So this is going to tell people this email belongs to this person. There you go. Now I've got the record that corresponds to the individual. From that, I can create the current user system so I can identify who's using the system, right? And then if nobody has a record, I need to make an easy way for that person to create a record, okay? After that, then I need to integrate everything into that building slice. So I've got a slice that's running, that's holding the current building order. I need to take my current user idea and integrate that into the mix. After that, I will have this related orders on the user table. So if I'm the user and I go and I look at my record, I can see all of my orders, right? From that, I want to create a subset of just the active orders. The building orders is really the word I should have used there. So that when I, as a user, go and look at my record of related orders, I can easily see what is the one that I'm currently building. I want to isolate that out from all the other ones. So I'm going to do all of that in this section, this last little bit of the live stream. Let's get to it. So I've got my shopping cart here. So this was version 7. I just made a copy of it. So the thing I need to do here is first we need to add a user table. So I'm going to open up my source and I'm going to go get my user table because I have a standard starting template for this. If you are a Patreon supporter of mine, you have access to this Patreon guides folder. And inside here, if you go to the auto tables folder, there is where's that? Users table. And so this user table has the avatar builder built into it. Currently, the avatar builder doesn't work because AppSheet hasn't white labeled the images. Like they haven't put it on a whitelist of things so the images don't render appropriately, but it's in the works. All right, so on my table, right, so I'm going to come down here and we need to add in users. And then I copied my starting template, so I'm just going to put that here. Crop to my selection, freeze row number 1. All right, so this is my user table. Come back to my shopping cart, refresh the page to grab the new table. All right, there we go. Hey, happy days, it popped up. Add that. And through the magic of auto tables, I don't have to do anything else. Yay! Yay, I can go right to the view and I can say, cool, give me a view of my users. Yep, just like that. I'm going to put it in the menu. I'm going to sort this by name. I'm going to group them by role. The main image will be the avatar display, which doesn't work, but it will in the future once they get it fixed. I want the role. I don't want anything. I don't want anything. I'm going to turn that off. I'm going to make this users. Yep. And then swipe right to edit. All right. Yeah, like I've been doing this long enough that I can run down a deck view and like, yep, I know everything that I want to do, even though I don't have any records. Now I can go through and be like, all right, let's make a user. So, yep, pulled me in. Needs to make me this. Yeah, and you see, unfortunately, the avatar builder doesn't work. It pulls up a broken image, but technically, it's there, and like it will work eventually at some point. So here's my user record. All right, so I've got a user table that I've added to my app. I've integrated it into the thing. You see how fast it is if you use auto tables? Like, aha, I'm done. I'm moving on. To give you a hint of what this user auto table is doing, so I've got a whole bunch of headers. Clearly, I've got the name, login email, I have a role, I've got a photo source where someone can either upload a photo, if I go in here and show you, where you could either upload a photo, you could choose to use the avatar builder, or you could use a gravatar. Like if I use my gravatar, this is what I've specified for that. I think I'll just stick with that for there. But you can see all of this avatar builder stuff and like all of the defaults and all the enums that I have done for all of the different values that are acceptable for all of these different parameters for the avatar builder. Like all of this is done for you, built into the thing. Happy days. If you want access to that, head on over to patreon.com/multitech. It's $10 a month. There's more than this. There's a boatload of goodies inside this folder. All right, moving on. I've got my user table. What's the next thing that I need to do? If we go back here, number 2, the current user system. All right, so if you're new to this concept of the current user system, the idea is I have a user table. In that user table, I have a column that specifies what is the login email that this person is going to use to access the system. And then based on the email that they're using, I create a slice that matches user email, the function that pulls the email that the person's using that's logged in, to whatever's over there, and that slice holds that record. The point being that record now becomes a global variable that's accessible anywhere. So when I'm over there and I need to know what's the role of the user, but over there has no connection to the user table at all, how can I still know? This is how you do that. You isolate that record that you want in a slice by itself, and it now becomes essentially a global variable. And then from that, you can extract any bit of data that you want and use it anywhere in your system. So, first thing, the slice. The slice lives on the user table where user email, the function user email, equals the column that you have inside your system that is the login email. Now you can see on this table, I have 2 different things. I have a login email and then I have a notification email, because sometimes people want to access and log in using one thing, but they have another one that they want all the notifications for. It's helpful to do things like this. I've defaulted the notification email to whatever the login one is. So if you don't want to change it, there's nothing you have to do. It's just there and it's done, moving on. So my formula is user email, the function, equals whatever column holds the email. And that's it. That's all you got to do. I give this the name current user and save it so that this slice propagates throughout the system. And we're done. That's the current user system. If you go to the community, there was a really good post that I made about a long time ago about how to use this system, where I talk about like, how do I extract a list value? Like say I've got a value on my user record that designates these are their approved or their assigned projects. How can I get the list out of that in a way that I can still use the list? There's some nuance involved with this. Head on over to the discussion in the community. If If you look in the discussion, a lot of nuanced answers are down there. Where do we go from here? All right. Now that we have the current user system installed, the next thing I want to do is I want to create a new user flow. What do I mean by this? I mean, if I give somebody access to the system, but I haven't created a user record for them yet, I would like the system to have a smooth way for that person to create their own record and then keep moving forward. How do I do that? Well, since I have this current user slice, if you think about it, if the person's accessing the system for the first time, then this slice is going to have nothing inside it. You know what I mean? Like, the record doesn't exist. So the slice is blank. You follow me here? So I can use the condition is blank current user slice to tell me whether or not this person exists in the system. So how do we do that? I see I'm starting to get a little, sun's coming out, starting to get a little blasted out here. There we go. So what do we do? All right. So copy the name of this slice. And this is going to be a helpful thing to do. I have, whenever I'm building an app, I always open up a Notepad. I use Notepad++, but you could use just a regular text editor, right? And this is where I start recording the names of things like this slice. I'm going to use all over the place. So I might as well record the name of this somewhere outside of the system so that I can easily come here and grab this and be done, right? All right, so this current user is a slice of the user table. So I'm going to add the user ID here into this guy because that's what I need there. And the idea now is like this little bit that I have, right? So that's going to pull the ID, but I just can't do it like that. I need to formulate this in such a way that I can work with the value. So what I do is I index out the first value from that, and it works just like what you're looking for. So this tells me whether or not, this formula grabs for me the ID inside the current user's slice. So if that's blank, there is no record for that person, and then they need to do something different. So if I come here to all my views, like this building order thing, okay, well, this building order will only be here if is not blank building order. Okay, well, let me close this order so we get to that sort of state where we are. Okay, so when they first come to this app, this building order thing's not going to be here. It's going to be this new order. So what I want to do is I want to restrict this view from showing down there if that current slice is blank. So here's my formula for the view and whether it should show or not. You can see I'm already showing this if is blank the building order. So I need to wrap an and around all of this because I need to add another condition inside it. And so what I'm saying is if is blank, that formula that pulls the ID of the person, if that is blank and the building order is blank, if that's true, is not blank. That's what I'm looking for. So if there is not a building order, but there is a current user, if that's true, then I want you to show me this view down here that will allow the person to create a new order. Because in that instance, what's going on there is that person has a user record, so they're therefore ready to use the system. Okay, so if they don't have that, right, then I need to show them some other view that will allow them to create their user record. All right, so what do I need? I need a form view of, there it is. I need a form view of my user table, and I'll call this new user, right? And the idea is if I go to the, if I go to that view that I was just working on, and I come down here and I come to the formula and I copy this branch, I basically need the opposite of this branch right here. So I'm just going to copy it from there, and I'll put it in the condition for my new user form. Come down here to the show if, paste my thing, and reverse it. So if is blank, the current user, show this view. Okay, I'm going to have this be like a user plus. Do we have a plus? I know there's a plus. Where's it at? Oh, there it is. Just saw it. There we go. All right, and then the ending view I want to go to will be info. I want to drop you on info if you go back. All right, cool. So if we save this and we look at what we got now, we should have a system where if I don't have a record, I should be able to create the record. If I already do, it should just let me use the system. Yep. So you can see down here, I've got the ability to create a new order. So that means the system is detecting that I'm logged in. All right. Because I have a record here. All right. Well, let's delete my record. Wait for it to save. Come back here, refresh the app. All right. Now, if we look down here, we can see now I've got this new user thing instead of the new order. So if I click this, it takes me to the user setup, and the user form is set up in such a way that it automatically pulls in like what name have you specified for your profile. It pulls in your email, right? And the only thing you need to do is like change a few of these things. There we go. And now you can see I can create a new order. Bam, I'm ready to use the system. Happy days. So that now gets me to the point to where I can give somebody access to the system, meaning I can go to AppSheet, I can come here, I can click the user plus button, I can add their email to this list here. They'll get an email from AppSheet saying, hey, somebody has shared this app with you. Click here to install or click here to open in the web browser. They'll click on that. It will take them to this app, and this app will recognize, hey, mate, you don't have a user record. Create your user record. Once you create your user record, then you're off to the races and you can continue to use the system like you want to. Happy days. The next thing that we've got to throw in here is, so now the system has a way for new users to get in, and the system can tell that somebody's actually doing something that they're actually there, right? The next thing that we need to be able to do is we need to integrate the user table with the orders. So what do we need to do? I want to reference connect the orders to the users so that on the user record, I have a list of all of the related orders created by the user. How do I do that? On the child table, I create another column that's a reference to the parent, meaning my thought process is I'm looking at one record, aka a user, and on that record, the user record, I want to see a list of all of their orders. So on the user, I need a list of the orders. That means on the orders, I create the reference. If I'm on the user and I wanted to see a list of all of their projects, that would mean that on the projects, I would have to have a reference to the user. You get what I mean? It's this backwards thing. It's whatever I'm here and whatever list I want to see, you got to go to the other place and mark it over there. And that makes it over here. So what do we need to do? We need to go to our order table and we need to throw a new column into the mix, a user link. We go to our source, go to our orders table, and I'm just going to throw it right here in the front. I'm going to say order user link. Wait for it to save, come back to the app, go back to my user, not my user table, go back to my order table and regenerate the column structure. We can grab this new thing, and then all we got to do is make that a reference to the user table. So here we are, we got this column up here. Take this, make it a reference to users, make it a drop down, and I'm even going to go and I'll throw in a valid if where I'm going to say, cool, pull for me from the user table every user ID. So that it just gives me a list of every user in the system. Yep, mark that as required. Come down here. I'm going to give this a display name of user, or I have a better one. Order by. All right. Now, if we save this, when this comes back, because we set this new reference to the user table, we go look at the user table, we go all the way to the bottom, and we now have related orders. That's how you get this. It's called a reverse reference. It's this ref rows thing. But now, if I go and I look at my user record, I now have this list of all of the related orders that I've made. Nothing in here is marked for me. So what if we just hack this? So if I come here to the back end, copy the ID from my user record, and go to these orders, and I say, I'm just going to drop that there for all of these. Wait for it to save, come back here, hit the update button, and now all of those orders are now linked to me. And so now I can see all 15 of those on my user record. So the next thing that I would do logically is I would spend some time cleaning up this view, because clearly how it sits right now is not very helpful. So I would go to this view, and let's see, I want to sort them by date, descending, so the newest is at the top. I want to do the orders by, like, I think I want the total display, and then I want like the customer, and then maybe the status, and like we'll call it good with that. Just on the outside. Oh, I see status doesn't show up. Okay. Then we'll just leave it like this, the grand total and the customer. Yeah. So these are the orders that I have made for these customers with all their totals. Cool. All right. That gives me, if we save this so it propagates, so that gets me all the way to here, partially here. So now that I've got the ability for my order to recognize, or to at least hold the data of who's creating it, now I need to put in the initial value that tells the system, when you're creating an order record, take the value that's in the current user slice and drop that into the reference for the order. That is how you link the order to the appropriate person. So I go to my columns, go to my order, go to my user link, go over to the initial value, and this is where saving these sort of things comes in handy. Come here, copy that, drop that in here. So whenever I create an order, it's automatically pulling whoever's currently logged in and using the system. The order is linked to that person. All right. So with that, now I only need to do one last thing in order to get this integrate into the building slice thing working. So where do we stand right now? I've got the ability for the app to know who's logged in, whether or not they actually have a record or not. When they do have a record, they can create an order, and that order is automatically linked to them. Okay, but the slice that we have down on the main menu that's displaying the building order, that slice is not intelligent right now. We have not modified that in any way for it to know the current user. That's the next thing that we got to do, and that's really the secret that makes this sort of multi-user functionality work. You have to have all of this supporting stuff that I've been doing up until this point. You have to have all of that in place just so you can get to the point where you can say, inside that slice, only hold the ones that match the current user. So let's do that now. If we go to that building slice, so we have this building orders, right? If we open this, I'll put all columns back in. That's a helpful thing to do every once in a while. As you're working on your app and you add more columns into the mix, this happens every once in a while where the new columns you've added aren't added into the list. And unless you were intentionally doing that, when they look at this slice, they're missing columns. So it's always a good idea to go through once in a while and do this, clean up, and add all the columns back in. All right, building orders. What do we need to modify? So we need to change this to where it's not just that the order status is building, but it's the order status is building and the user is the current user. So what do? We come in here and we wrap this in an and, right? Come down here and drop into this next level. And what I'm saying is where the user equals, and again, this is why it's so helpful to have this saved somewhere, so you can just copy it again, where the user of this record equals the ID of the user inside the current user slice. So it's not only building, but it's also this user. And like that, that's the magic. That's the magic to make all of this sort of stuff work. I've now got a multi-user capability for my system. So for instance, let's say I'm going to start a new order. All right, so I now have a building order that's assigned to my ID. Now let's go through and let's create another user for a test person, right? Test person, right? And they're going to have test@email.com. Oh, that's already in there. All right, test. I've already done test, so I'll do tester. I've already done tester. What is going on here? Oh, man. All right, clearly it's not letting me do something. All right, hold up. There's something wrong here. So let's check. If we go and we look at the user table, what's going on? We look at this. What do we do in the user login email? Not in users user login email where the user ID does not equal this user ID. Maybe I just legit already have all of these users. No, I don't. Yeah, I only have the one person. So why aren't you letting this fly? Huh. You know, this is another thing that I was working with somebody and this sort of logic broke like this. There's no reason this should not work. The only thing that I can think about, no, there's no reason why this should not work. I'm saying this value is valid if the email that they've entered in there is not inside the login email column from the user table minus this user ID. But like, I think y'all can clearly see there's some fundamental flaw with this validation system. Something broke. Like, wow, something's legit broke here. Because if we look at this, so it's saying that the system login email is not inside the table, subtracting out the record that we're doing. Okay, but like, all right, so it's not letting me enter anything in here. But like, bro, this value is not there because I only have one thing inside there. So clearly, there's something funky going on with validation right now. I'm going to have to report this bug, and hopefully they see this as the fire that it is. I can't add an email. Wow. Yeah, all right. We're just going to move on. What I'm going to do in order to test this then is I'm just going to come here to the order, and I'm going to change this to somebody else. All right, so now this is connected to a user that doesn't exist, but you can see down here the status is building. So for this user, it will be inside their slice. But if I come back here and I refresh my app, that means that I should not see that because the ID doesn't match mine. And if you look, happy days, I have the new order button down here, which means the system has recognized that that other order belongs to some other person, not me. It is building. Yeah, it is in the, we're in the ongoing status. Sure, but it belongs to somebody else. There you go. It's this sort of setup like that. I can now have an infinite number of people using this app, and each individual person will only see the one thing they're working on by themselves. That is if I can add a user record into the user table with it not letting me do that validation thing. You know what I mean? Like, all right, provided that gets smoothed out, we'll be happy. What's the next thing that I want to do? The last thing that I want to do for this is I want to isolate out of the related orders on the user table. I want to isolate out the current one that the person is building. It's not necessary for you to do this, but it does come about enough that it's helpful for me to demonstrate how you can do this sort of data subset. That's the technique that I call this thing. Because it is a core AppSheet tool that you need to have inside your toolbox, because I guarantee you're going to use this time and time and time again. So I call this technique a data subset. What is it that I'm talking about? What I'm talking about is I've got on a table, on a parent, I have a list of child records down here. So I have this related orders list right here, right? Okay, that related orders list, where did I go? I disappeared. Where did I go? Why did my camera go away? Hey, I'm here. I promise you I'm here. Okay. Hey, I'm back. All right. So anyways, the technical difficulties. This list that you're looking at right here, this related orders. Okay. This is the master list of every order that's related to the user. Every single one, irregardless of whatever its status is. So if you want a list of only the ongoing things, you've got to create a subset of that data subset. The way that I go about this is I usually, if I know the slice condition, I know the condition that I need where the status equals something, right? So if I come over and I create a slice for the thing that I want, which I already have, I have this building orders. So this slice holds for me all of the orders that are ongoing and only the ones that correspond to the current user. Okay, so what I really want now is I want a slice that's like this, but it's not conditionalized to the user. I just want a subset of all of the building orders. Don't matter who they belong to, just the building orders. Okay, so what I'm going to do in this instance is I'm actually going to copy this, and then I'm going to remove from the building orders. Actually, no, I'm going to leave this one. So this building orders, I'm going to leave as the current user one, and I'm going to change its name to current user building order, since it should be singular. And this other one, I'm going to leave as building orders, and I'm going to use this one as the universal generic one. So I'll remove all the current status stuff from it. Okay, I'm going to save this so it all propagates through the system. Make sure that my views and everything are good. They didn't break. Yep. Okay. Fair enough. Because, I changed the name of the slice. So maybe down here, right? Maybe it didn't change the name of the thing, but it did. Cool. Happy days. All right. Now what do I have? I have two slices. I have a slice that holds for me all of the building orders, regardless of who they belong to, and then all of the building orders that belong to the current user. And based on how I've designed my system, the assumption of functionality is there will only ever be one building order for any individual person at one time. There you go. That slice will be the singular thing. But this general slice now, if I take this, if I copy the name of the slice, and I go back to my parent table, right? So again, we're talking about on the users, I have this list of related orders, and I'm trying to get a list of just the building orders for this person. All right. If I come in here and I have on my clipboard that slice, if I replace this first part and I copy this formula is the thing that I need to use, but I don't want to put it here. I want to leave this master list of orders alone. I'm trying to create a new thing of just the user building order. Might be more one, but and I'm going to take that formula that I built that has the name of this building order slice in the ref rows, and I'm going to put it here. And now you can see this is a list of references to the building order slice. And I'm going to call this building order. Okay, I save all of this so it propagates we can then go look at what this looks like. Now I'm going to put this order back to me so that I just can keep moving forward with what was originally there. Yes. So now here's my building order. And if I go and I look at my user record, right, I've now got my list of orders, my master list that shows all 16 of them that I'm doing. But I also have the one that I'm actively working on, isolated out by itself, sitting over here. Now I could leave this like it is, where it's the list of the records. But since I know that the assumption of functionality for this system is that there's only ever going to be one building order, instead of leaving that the list like it is, I'm going to change that to an enum base type reference, so that if I want to dereference any kind of information out of the current thing that's going on, such as the date, the start time, the status, the order total, the whatever, if for any reason I needed to have that sort of information on my parent level, right? You leaving the thing a list makes it a little harder. If I change this user building order, if I change this from a list to an individual thing, it's easier. So how do I do this? I come to my ref rows and I just wrap this in an index 1. You could also wrap it in any if you wanted. It's the same essential thing. But what this is doing is it's saying, here's a list of stuff. Give me the first one out of that. And again, the assumption of functionality is there's only one thing in that list, so it should work all the time. If I save this, change this type to an enum base type ref to the orders. Now, if I save this, now what I've got here is I have on my user, which is the parent in the situation, on the user, I have the ability to easily get any kind of information out of the order that's currently building. For instance, let me show you. Let's say I wanted to know what was the date when this thing started, right? I create a new virtual column, come down here, insert my building order thing, and I dereference out of that, go to my order. What's the thing that I want? What do I want out of this? What was I looking for? The date? There you go. I now have the date. If I let this validate, I come back here, you can see, bam, we have a date. And if I just leave that and show you what that looks like really quick. So if we go to the data source and we look, the date of this building order is today, the 4th. If I go and I look and I go to my user record and I look all the way down here, this new virtual column is extracting out of my building order the date value from the record. So if you ever need to create some sort of system where it's like, well, I need to know, is there an active thing going on for this parent? This is how you can do that. I call the technique a data subset. You'll hear me talk about it all the time. Relatively simple process. Create a slice, create a copy of the ref rows for the original list that uses the name of the slice in a new virtual column, and you're done. You end up with this sort of functionality where I can isolate out the one that's going on, or if you know, or if there's not one, it's a list of things that are happening. You have all of the things that are building now. They're all in this isolated list. And because it's dynamic and it's based on this slice, and the slice is based on the condition of the, whatever, you can base functionality off of the fact of, is there something inside that? Like, I have this virtual column that holds the user's building order, but maybe this would be the client's active project, right? This flag, having this system down here where it's only holding the ones that are active, if it's empty, well, that can be my signal to the system that we're one way or another. Is there something or not? Is it blank or is it not? Happy days. Like, when you set things up like this, you bring about the ability for all kinds of advanced functionality and future-proofing your app, and like, you're just setting yourself up for success. that is how you can bring about multi-user functionality inside your app. Sometimes some things are deceptively simple. If you have any sort of nuance that you're wanting to add to this multi-user system, please let me know and I will do a follow-up video to this, an 8.2 or whatever, where I'll throw in that nuance. All right, that's all I got for that section. Let's move on to the next. All right, time for the live chat. Let's see if I have a live chat thing that I'm trying to get to work. No, man, it just doesn't seem to work. This stream, that is supposed to be a Streamlabs integration with, let me see if I reset the cache. Maybe that'll do it. It's supposed to be a Streamlabs integration with the YouTube chat, but I just can never seem to get that thing to work. Too bad. That sucks. Oh well. I see there is a question out there. Hey, Luis Rodriguez, Hamlet, Chandra, and Light. Thanks, guys, for commenting, and thanks for being here. And everybody else that's here, you guys rock. Thanks for showing up. So there is one question in the chat from Light. He asks, hey, Matt, I was wondering if we can make an app like Uber in AppSheet with a sort of live tracking system. I've actually had several people approach me over the years to help create some sort of system exactly like this. I've had people come to me where they don't want to build, like, they don't need an Uber app, as in like drivers and people that need rides, like taxi service, but they want some sort of live tracking because they have delivery people and they want to be able to live track the delivery folk, right? The answer is always yes, generally in AppSheet. But the thing about it is like, well, like how many, I can't think of the word. How many, considerations are you willing to, how many things are you willing to concede in order to get there? You know what I mean? In this specific scenario, so AppSheet is not made for live things. It's built for asynchronous activity. Each instance of the app is a silo that operates all by itself. Like, my device has all the stuff that it needs in order for it to work, where I can put it in airplane mode and it'll still 100% work. Because it's built around that sort of, idea, that means that it's not doing that to get data. It's not constantly every second saying, give me data, give me data, give me data, give me data, give me data. It's not doing that. It's every 30 minutes, it's saying, cool, give me some data. When you interact with the app, when you do this, that, and whatever, when I change things, when I add records, like, that's making it get the new data, but only at the end, right? I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things. I wait for the 5 things to go, and then there's one more final sync at the very end. That final sync at the very end is the thing that's grabbing the cloud data and integrating it into the device and updating this so it's updated. Like, because AppSheet's built around that sort of modality, that sort of, functionality, you can't do a live thing. This is why it's difficult to build a system where you have multiple people that are operating on the same record. That's why you don't do that inside of AppSheet. You isolate people out so they only operate on one at a time, or if you need people to operate on the same record at the same time, they don't operate on the record. You create child records that are connected to the parent, and each person operates on their child records. That way, I'm working on my child record, you're working on your child record, and then when I save mine, the parent has the intelligence and everything that it needs in order to look at the child records and take the data out of those and integrate it into itself and make the updates that you need. The point being, I'm operating on my records, You're operating on your records. We can keep doing whatever we want to our heart's content. And the updates that we make are all managed, right, by the parent. The parent's looking at what we're doing and it's saying, which person should I listen to? And it's doing what it needs to do. But you have to build that in, right? Like, you've got to build in all of that sort of functionality in order to get that to work. But in regards to making something of an Uber-like app where you have live tracking, where I can see like maybe a map representation and I can see these dots moving in real time on the map, you can't do that. It doesn't work. The closest that you can get to something like that is, okay, if we just backtrack a little bit, what is the difficulty that we're talking about? Like, why doesn't this work? Well, you have the asynchronous thing. The other aspect of this is that the AppSheet app will not automatically, like the device will not automatically do something on a periodic basis. I can create a bot that runs on a schedule for, like once a day at 8 a.m. it does something, right? Okay, that's running on the server. It's not running on my device. There is no way for me to get the device to say, cool, at 8 a.m. do this, or every 5 minutes, update your location automatically. There's no way for me to get the device to do that. So my drivers can't have the device like sitting somewhere and it will just automatically ping the cloud with where their new location is. It doesn't work that way. AppSheet requires interaction on the device in order for the device to do anything. The user has to interact. Now you could make this as easy as they got a screen that's open and they just have their phone, in like a little holder thing or whatever. And like there's a button that they could press. Now, if you think about the flow of what might be happening there, okay, if we're delivering things, right, then when I get to my delivery space, my user is going to say I delivered something. So they're going to interact with that app. They're going to push a button that says delivered. Okay, that interaction can capture a geostamp. And you can use that geostamp to update what's the last known location for a user, right? So just like in the thing that I did just now on the shopping cart version 8, where I created a subset of the active things, right? I can do the same sort of idea where instead of isolating out the building things, instead all I do is out of that master list of records, I extract out what's the last one. And then out of that last one, I get the geostamp from it. That gives me the location, the last reported location for my individual. But you see, it's not live. There's no smooth way to make that work. It's all entirely based on the user having to do something with the app. You know what I mean? Now, based on the app that you make and the interaction flow and all of this, you can make a system where it's relatively smooth and intuitive and it works and it's like well managed, where the app gives my user, this is the next place you got to go with some instructions on how to get there. When they get there, they tap on the thing. Maybe there's a few other answers they got to give. And then it's like, this is the next thing you got to do. Like, you can make that sort of interaction flow work. However, your admins will not be able to look at a map and see a little icon car moving down the road. Doesn't work like that. AppSheet doesn't have that updatable frequency. It's only based on the data collected by the people. So it gives you a pseudo last known location, but like, how old is that? And, we can capture a timestamp with that. So it's like, well, the last known location is here, and that was updated 25 minutes ago. Another thing I've done for a thing like this is you can create a system to where you could have a notification that your admin or somebody could push that sends the notification to the person that's doing the delivery that says, hey, update your location. And then you just make in the app an easy button that they can just push, that all that does is like quick update the record. And then that just captures the update location. the edit location. We just grab their new timestamp. Like, you just make a button that's easy. So all they got to do is one, and they're one and done. So they get a notification that says, hey, where are you? Update your location. They just go over to their app and they're like, beep, and they keep doing what they're doing. So it's unobtrusive to the user, but it does give you a way to at least query your people to say, hey, where are you? It's been a while since we've got a timestamp. But you see, no easy way, no smooth way to make that happen. And I don't see that ever going that way. Like, I'm from the discussions that I've had with AppSheet people, it doesn't sound like that sort of live updating sort of thing is ever going to happen. Like, maybe, you know what I mean? Like, maybe way down the line, but I wouldn't hold your breath. Let's see what else we got here. Luis Rodriguez the second, my friend. He says, hey, Matt, in the cart app, why can't you edit the building order related? What do you mean? In the user view. What do you mean there, Luis? So in here, if I go to the user view and the related, so if I'm here and I'm in the user view and I have the related whatevers, what do you mean? Why can't I modify these records? Well, the building one, you should be able to. Oh, I see what's going on. I see what you're saying. Okay. Yeah. All right. So if I come over here, well, no, this is opening it. Yeah. So, I think I see what you're saying. Yeah, everything's locked down, right? I think that's what you're asking is like, why can't I change anything inside these orders? I've built the system around the idea that if you complete the order, so like over here, I've got this toggle where I've set the status as complete. Like if you do that, then I lock everything down. If you go and you look inside the order table, you'll see over here for all of the columns in the editables column, you see a lot of these things are all locked down to this order status does not equal complete. It's the same for if I go to the order details, you can see it's the order link dot order status does not equal complete. So it's the same formula. It's just dereferencing the status from the parent. So I've went through and I've locked down all of the details for the orders and the order details. If you have completed the order, you can't change it. You could change that if you wanted to. All you got to do is go through and remove that formula that's inside the edit if for all of the columns. All you got to do is just 86 that, clear it out of there so it's blank now. You're going to be good to go. You could modify those orders however often you wanted to at that point. Chandra Lim, she asks, hey Matt, how to make a scheduling app with a recurring task? Daily, weekly, can you enlighten me? Yeah, this is actually something that I've had people request often. And it's something that I have planned for an expansion of the inspection app. So the universal app that I put out a couple of weeks ago, that gives you the ability to establish these are the data points that we want to collect. These are the things that we want to collect data points on, and then you can collect the data points. There is no, I need to add a new table. I need to do something else. Nope, I just do the records and we're good to go, right? Sorry, just looking at the comments as they're coming in here. So I have plans for including into that universal inspection app the ability to include periodicity to some of these inspections. So I say I have a end of day checklist that I want to do, or I've got all these things that I got to do on the daily, right? I would make a way to do that. To give you, like, there's a lot honestly involved in to get that done. Like, it's not necessarily hard to get that to work, but it's like, it's just like anything in AppSheet. Like, it's relatively straightforward what you got to do, but there's 50 things and you need to do all of the 50 things in the order. And if you don't do them in that order, it's not going to work. But just to give you a brief little, make sure, yep, there we go. So like the thing that I would do, right, is so this is the inspection app. So then like inside here on the catalog, which is the template, which is the blueprint table side of things, where I'm saying these are the data points that I need to collect. In here on the parent level for these things, I would have a field inside here where I could specify like what is the periodicity for this thing. Is it daily? Is it weekly? Is it bi-weekly? Is it whatever? And that would just be an enum where I predefine some of these values, because this sort of system, you're going to have to like build it in. So you need to control what the options are. So anyways, I would have an enum column here in the catalog that specifies what's the periodicity for this, like what's the frequency, right? So that is just a bit of text that's stored in relation to the record here. And so then what I would do then is then when I'm here on the inspection, which is the data collection side of things, in here, I have a date when I started collecting things. And so then what I would do then is if I'm trying to build this system so that if I collect something, I need to collect it again at some future date, what I'm going to do is I'm going to prepare that future date information when I make this record. Because I know I'm doing it today, so I have today's date. And because this inspection is connected to that catalog, and in the catalog I've specified it has a frequency of daily, right? Okay, well then I have all the information that I need to know in order to calculate what's the next date, right? All I do is I take today's date and I add some number based on whatever the text is that I've specified over there. So literally, I would come in here to my inspection table and I would create another set of columns, or at least another one column in here that is the next date. And it would just have a formula inside it that says start date plus a switch statement based on whatever the dereferenced frequency from the catalog that you're doing, right? If it's daily, it's today plus 1. If it's weekly, it's today plus, or not today, but whatever the date is, it's the date plus 1. If it's weekly, it's the date plus 7. Bi-weekly, date plus 12 or 14. If you know what I mean? If it's monthly, you could do plus 30, or you could get a little fancy and find the end of the month and blah, 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 blah. But like, that's the whole idea, is that when I'm capturing the individual thing, I would have a date on that table that would specify what's the next thing. And then, just like what I showed you earlier about how to extract what's the active thing, right? You would do the same thing like I was talking about for the last thing. And so on my entity level, I have a thing where it says this is the you'd have to, like, this is what I'm getting at, like that. At this point, it becomes a little more messy in order to get clear information out. But what you would end up with, though, is each inspection would have a date on it that would specify when this inspection needs to be done again. So then what I could do then is I could create an automation that would live on the, let me get to it, that would live on the inspections table, that would run on a schedule, that would run daily, that would look to see, like, is today greater than, and then I would enter in whatever that date was, you know what I mean? And then I have this next date, you know what I mean? The next completion date. And so I would have this automation that's looking for this thing saying, is today greater than or equal to maybe the next date? And if it is, send an email to somebody, or maybe make a slice of these records where today is greater than that. So now I've got a slice of all of the old inspections that need to be done again. So then I could make a view holding all of these old inspections, and I could create a system to where when somebody's in that view and they tap on the record, the system recognizes what's going on. And instead of looking at the detail for that record, we instead take you to a form where we bring what was the catalog inspection that you were doing, we'll throw that into this new inspection you're doing over here. Well, you know what I mean? Like, you can get it to where it's relatively easy. And I have this view somewhere of all of the things that need to be done, and I can click on it and start doing it right away. I will do that in a future version of the inspections app. I am working on a way where people can vote on what they want me to do next week. Because I have these 4 apps and I've got lists of things that I want to do for all 4 of these. And so like I've got enough content to last me for a weekly stream doing a deep dive, just like I did now, where it's like a little half-hour thing. I could do this for 6 months. That's how many things that I have. So I'm going to make a way to where it's easy for you guys, where you can say, where everybody can vote on what do you want me to do next week? Do you want me to do the shopping cart? Do you want me to do the inspection? What thing do you want me to do for that? Like I'm making a list of all the things that I got, and then you can vote for what you want. You can put those in the order that you people want me to do these things. I'm getting there. Processes. But yeah, that's that. Let's see. We go back to the chat. Chandra Loom. Let's can you set an hour every 3 hours? Oh, for the periodicity, for the frequency of things. What you're going to run into there, Chandra, is so automation can only run like once a day. Like, I can only create a bot, and that bot can only run once a day. But I could create 24 of those bots, one to run every hour. And the bot could run a process that I define as a separate process so that they're all doing the same thing. You know what I mean? So it's a little easier to build, but I would still have to build out 24 bots to have one to run every hour. If I wanted something to run, every half hour, well, then I have to have 2 bots for every hour, one at the top, one at the bottom. You follow what I mean? So it's not really it's not easy-ish to set things up like that. There's a lot of development overhead that we have to do, but I mean, you can do it. It's totally possible. And once you get it set up, I mean, the benefit is you only have to do it once. Once you get the system done and it's there, it's running, you don't have to do it again. Like, you're good. So, it would just be a matter of creating a bot that runs on a schedule that like every hour it's looking for what's the next, and then you'd have to have a timestamp, right? So like the next date time, not just the next date, but like that's simple enough, right? So it's just a matter of doing some simple things like that and isolating them out, having it run. Another way that you could do that is inside your bot, one of the steps that you can do is there's this wait step. I don't know if you've played with this at all, but like this is an incredibly powerful thing that you could throw in that would give you the ability to where like it starts from the point when the person creates the record, right? So like that's the start time is when they've saved the record. And then it starts waiting after that. And like it could either wait for a condition or it can wait for a period of time. So like you could come in here and you could specify, I want this to be, whatever the, you'd have to go and find it. You have to set it up the right way. But like whatever the start time plus, 3 hours. You know what I mean? And like something like this, that's going to say, all right, well, whatever the timestamp is here, we're going to add 3 hours to that. That's going to give the system a timestamp, and it's going to wait until the time passes beyond that. The minimum is 5 minutes. The maximum is 30 days. But you could totally set something up to where when they save the record, it initiates this bot that starts waiting for a certain amount of time. And then at the end of that, it does something. Maybe it sends an email or it flags a record. Maybe it makes a new record and the record is created in a pending status. Do you know what I mean? So that like every time this thing moves beyond its time period, the next step after that is to basically copy the record. But it copies the record with the new timestamp, with the new thing. You know what I mean? You could set that up, and then that would give the people the easy ability to refresh their app, and the list of new records would be in this view that you could make to show all of these things to make it easy to get to. Lots of nuance involved with stuff like this. All right, getting to the bottom here. Let's see. I'm new to creating apps with Light says, I'm new to creating apps with users. I was just wondering if two users add a different record at the same time, will there be any data loss? Good question, Light. So AppSheet's built around asynchronous functionality. So every device is a silo by itself. It's also built around last edit wins. So if I've got two people that are modifying the same record, right? Let's say one person's changing the time and another person's modifying, they're putting a note, right? Okay, well, if they happened in that order, as in somebody, the first person put a time, and let's say that closes the record, changes the status, does this, initiates, does a whole bunch of stuff. All right, that's going to go off. But then because this secondary person didn't have this information when they made their edit goes on top of that other one and completely replaces what that person did. So the first person changed the stop time, right? And that stop time changed the status and did whatever. Then this other person came back and their edit was the edit that won. Okay, if we look at the record data for their edit, their record is the old record before the original person modified it, which means it doesn't have any of those updates. So when I put my data on top of the record, my note, because the second person's typing a note, my notes are added, but the time is reset to whatever it was in my record, which is blank. And the status is reset to what my record has it, ongoing. Do you know what I mean? And everything the first person did is lost because the entire system is built around last edit wins. So this is why you don't build systems where you're going to have two people modifying the same one record at the same time. If you ever find yourself in that scenario, the thing you need to do is either fundamentally change the system so people aren't working with the same records, they're working on different groups, or if it does have to be the same parent record, you create child records that each individual person can modify. And then on the parent, and for the field that the person would be the stop time, right? Instead of that being just a field somebody can modify, you put an app formula on that says, extract for me the last or the first value out of the related records down there. Do you know what I mean? So all the child records that the people are creating, you've got a formula that's looking for that to get what it needs. But you can see there's a lot of nuance, there's a lot of messiness that can be found inside here depending on how your system is, what your situation is, everything that's going on. Good stuff. Let's see. Luis Rodriguez. All right, let's see. Well, your original question was, why can't I edit the building order related stuff in the userville? The building order that's going on. I'm just following all your things here. Not the closed orders, but I mean the VC you just created referencing you can't edit that record in that view. Let me go look. So if I'm here and I look at my, yeah, because this is I think I see what you're saying. Like, why can't I change what this is? Like, why can't I change the thing that's selected there? If that's what you're asking, it's because, sorry, I realize I've been pointing at my screen and using my app, but I haven't been showing you. Like, if this is what you're talking about, like here, like, why can't I change this? That's because it's built by a formula and it's derived by what's the ongoing thing. So if you want to change it, you have to change the ongoing record, right? I still feel like there's something else you're trying to ask me. We'll get there. We'll get there. Eventually it'll be like, oh, I see what you're talking about. Hamlet asks, hello, Matt. In your many-to-many join table app on the enum column, that's a type ref and pointing to the other table, Why does it not allow the possibility to add a new record, like when I'm in the columns, that's just a plain ref? And is this an AppSheet thing? The reason why, when you're inside the, let's see, okay, what are we talking about? So the many-to-many join table, let me get that app open and I can show you specifically why. The reason you don't get the new thing inside it is because I've designated inside that space. So here I am inside my many-to-many sample app. I'm on the columns. I'm looking at the employees table, and I've got this enum list down here that is all of the assigned projects, right? And inside here, I have the ability, I have the allow ads turned on, but you can see I've specified a valid if. It's because I've specified a valid if that's restricting things from allowing new additions into the system. Because the whole idea with the valid if is these are the values that are acceptable. If you're looking to get the ability to add things into the mix, so if I go to my employee and I go to one of them and I modify and I go to this list here, if you're looking for the ability to add something here, right? First thing I want to say is I highly advise against this. Nested forms is one of the worst things that you could possibly do inside your system. It's rife with problems. It's always broken. It'll get fixed, but then it's not like user settings where there's one thing that's broken. When you go to nested forms, there's a boatload of things that have to be taken into consideration. You have form save events. You've got the fact that if I'm creating a child record, the parent of that child record still doesn't technically exist yet. It hasn't actually been saved. So it's actually not in the database. Like if I have a formula on my child record that's looking to pull something from the parent table and give me a value and check something, that formula doesn't work in that instance because the record doesn't exist. It hasn't been saved yet. It's in this pseudo situation. You get what I mean? So nested forms is one of the things that I always advise people against. It brings with it some workflow kind of messiness, and it's only messy because you're thinking, well, I'm in this form and I want to be able to add something in this place. If you change your mindset, I don't want to be able to add it here, add it outside, and then come in here and select it, or add it the other place and select the user. So what we're talking about is I'm on a user and I want to add a project, or I could go to the other side. I could add a project and select the users that belong to that project. And because of how I have the system set up, when I save this project, so I come in here and I say, I've got a new project. When I come into here and I select that these people belong to this new project, because I have this many-to-many system built into the thing, when I save the project form, it updates the users. So the new location is added into the user over there. So it's a matter of shifting your mentality of when you're trying to do the data entry thing you're trying to do, shift where it's happening so that instead of there, you do it somewhere else. Nested forms are one of there's a lot of problems that you'll fall into when you're trying to do things like that, and it's best to just stay away from them. If you need to go from one form to another, like I want to add child records to the parent that I'm doing, instead of going from form to form and then back to a form, go from the parent form to a detail view of the parent. Because then I've got that native list of all the child records right there, right? And then if I go into the child record form, I'm in the form, and when I save, I have the form save event that I can kick things off of. You see what I mean? When you just natively build things out this way, you now have more control over everything. You've got more nuance. You've got the ability to add things in. You have more space. And space is really the answer that everybody's looking for when they're doing their AppSheet thing. You got a whole bunch of problems. You need more space. That's what you got to do there. But, okay, now, if you wanted to have the ability to go into a nested form here when I'm in the employee and I'm in their list of projects and I want to add something here. If you wanted to do that, even though I'm suggesting you don't, but if you want to, all right, I got you. What you got to do is you go to your enum list, and instead of leaving this list of the values that make up the list, instead of leaving that inside the valid if, cut it out of there and move it down here to the suggested values. When you do that, that gives the system the ability, like you're telling the system, well, I want people to be able to add new stuff to this list. Then I can click that and it will take me to the project. And now I'm over here and I can do whatever I want. I can do whatever I want. I can do whatever I want. The problem that you're going to run into, though, is that unless I select the employee that I just came from inside this sub form that I'm in, like I don't remember the name of the employee. Like it's probably one of these first people. So I'll just undo the first one. I don't remember who I was on, but I've selected these folk. So if I save this and I come back here, okay, so it was Jermaine. Okay, I unselected him from that. So that person's not in this list. Maybe that's what this is. Maybe. But you see, it did do 3 things. All right, but you see the 3 things that it did, that's not enough. If we think about what's going on inside this app, okay, I was inside the employee that took me to a subform of the project. And inside the project, I selected 5 people. Okay, did you notice that when I saved that, there was not more than 5 edits? Okay, I selected 5 people. There should have been at least 5 edits because when I created that new project, it should have went to all 5 of these people and added that new project to their list of assigned projects. There was not 5 edits. There was 3, meaning the first save, the second save, and maybe some other thing that I'm not quite sure what's happening. There's only 3. There should be like at least the 5 plus the 1 for the child record plus the 1 for the parent record. There should be at least 7 edits that we saw, but we only saw 3 because we went through a nested form, and the form save event that we needed to happen on the project side didn't happen because we were in a nested form. Get what I mean? This is just one side. That's just one thing that doesn't work right. There's a whole boatload of these things. So this is why I advocate whenever you're in a situation like that, you're better off changing the flow, going from the parent to the detail of the parent, so then you can go from the form of the parent and like save that and have a form save event that has a link to form that takes you directly to the form of the child. And then in the form save event for the child, have like a link to row that takes me to the detail view of the parent, right? So I go from the parent form to the child form and then to the parent detail. Whole point, form. Like, but I'm not doing a nested thing. I'm saving the original one, leaving it going somewhere else. I can get all of that sort of things to kick off. Booyah. All right, y'all. I've been going for like 2 hours. To be honest with you, I'm trying to keep these things to like an hour. But hey, you know what? This second hour with the live chat thing has been kind of fun. Maybe I'll keep it going. Who knows? Got another question in here from Anubis Veterinaria. I love the name Anubis. I am all about this Egypt stuff. Hey, Matt, I'm a fan of the show. Thank you very much. I'm a fan of the name. I'm a little curious about the users table from your inspections app. What is that about generating user images? Fair enough. So if we go to the inspection app and I go to the users table, yep. So this avatar thing, right? Yeah. Well, unfortunately right now the avatar images aren't displayed. So if I go in here and I show you the avatar thing, right? You get this broken thing and it doesn't show you what it's supposed to be. But if I save this and we go and we look at the data of that record, there is a URL that's saved. And if we look at this URL, this is the image that's supposed to be shown based on all of the stuff that the user has selected inside the avatar builder columns. If you want to know more about how to use this avatar builder, you can search the AppSheet community. There's a great post about it. At some point, I'll put a link in the description for those in the future. You can get to it easily. This is a service. It's called avatars.io. And it's literally just a quick little builder like this. And you have the ability to select what kind of clothes, what kind of hair, what kind of eyes, what kind of mouth, what kind of facial expression. Is it a man? Is it a woman? What's the color of the skin? Boatloads of things. But it's a great way for you to add a little visual, right, into your app if you wanted to give your users the ability to have some visual representation of them. And so that's what I've built into my user table here in the inspection app. Is it's got the ability for three things. You can either upload a photo, you could use the avatar builder, or you can grab a gravatar. If you're not familiar with gravatar is, Google it. You'll figure it out. It's pretty cool. So that's what this is. And like the way that it works is there's this whole section down here inside this page 2 inside the user table. You can see here, right? All these questions, and then there's more further down. All these columns specify the various different bits of data that need to be put together in order to generate the URL that makes this image here. Good stuff, man. A lot of fun stuff you can do with this. Tell you what. All right, what else do we have here? I see Luis Rodriguez. So, okay, we were talking about that VC where in the shopping cart on the users, I have this column that holds what is the building orders and like what is the date. Yeah, and I can't change this value. I can't change the value because it's controlled by this formula. Yeah. Let's see. So you can turn that VC like before and edit, continue shopping the building order from the user view. Really, Luis, all I was really trying to show there is a way for you to extract out of the list of like ongoing things, because that's a thing that's a technique with building apps that I use all over the place. Building a slice where I hold the subset of whatever and then doing a ref rows of that slice into whatever parent I'm on. And then usually it's like, all right, well, there's only one of those. So I want to be able to like extract out of that some values. That's really what I was really shooting for over there. Let's see what else. We're running out to the end here. I'm going to call this the end here in the next few minutes. Light has one more question. He says, "Hi Matt, can you do I can do the separation which you were saying with a slice, or should I be making two different tables?" And what are you referring? Let's see if I go back. Just wondering if two users add different records at the same time. Okay, so if Light, you're referring back to your idea of what happens when I've got two people modifying the same record. Yeah, the thing that you would want to do there is you would want two different tables. If the situation is, yes, 100%, I need to have two people at the same time modifying the same record. If that's what's going on, okay. You can't do that. You have to create a child table where in the child table you have fields that have the ability, that have whatever corresponding fields match the parent. Like if I need to change the status, I need to have a corresponding status field that's set up relatively the same way as the original one, has the same values. If I have a time field, I need to have a time field here. If I have you know what I mean? Like any of the data points that you want to change, I need to have a child record that has a way for the user to store that data point there. Then on the parent, you got to, in the field that's supposed to be storing the original data, you have to change that to a formula that's looking at the child records. And then you, as the developer of the system, you need to make an assumption of functionality. What is it that the system's going to work with? Is it going to work with the first value that it gets, the first record that's saved, or is it going to work with the last record that's saved? It's really kind of either one, right? You can do more. You can do some nuance inside there, but that requires you to build out an entire system that allows the records when child records come in, you have an automation on the child record table that's looking to see, is this a duplicate child record? And do we need to accept this duplicate, or do we need to reject this duplicate? And, maybe it's like, is there already a record? Sorry, mate, there's already one there. You're kicked out. Or is there a record there, but the person that created the secondary, that person's an admin, so their record should override you know what I mean? Like, you can build a system in automation that's running on this child record table, looking at the data as it comes in, making a determination about what it needs to do, and then whatever it comes up with, it makes that modification to the parent table, where you're trying to get this two people modifying the same record at once. See what I mean? Like, let's see what else. Michael Dev, thanks for joining in. First time I've seen a comment here. Hi, Matt. What are your thoughts on no-code chat apps presented yesterday in the AppSheet office hours section? I actually did not see that. The only thing that I'm familiar with the chat thing is what I've read from the official Google Next stuff. And from what I see there, I think there's a massive misunderstanding of that's going down. All the documentation and everything that they're pointing out, they're saying that these chat apps are going to be available for an internal workplace marketplace. As in, I have a business Google Workplace account with 5 users, with 50 users, right? And because I have the workplace thing, that gives me access to an internal app place, like an app store, if you will. That's an internal thing where I can get various extensions that I like, and I can throw them in there so my team can find them really easy. Also, I could make it to where only these are the only ones that are allowed. So like that's where that's going to live, is you'll be able to deploy your app as a chat app in your professional business work marketplace. So like me as a general person, I'm not going to be able to do that because I don't have a marketplace thing. Like I don't have that. So I'm betting that's not going to be available in my app. You know what I mean? Yes, everything that if you read it, like they didn't explicitly state that these chat apps will be exclusively for the workplace members. But if you read carefully, like read between the lines, because you got to remember, we're dealing with a giant corporate machine that's got people upon people upon people, and it's all marketing and marketing and marketing and marketing. And so like the truth is obfuscated and hidden behind sales speak. You know what I mean? So you really got to read between the lines nowadays with these things that are coming out for like a company like Google. It all says will be available to deploy in your private workspace marketplace. Like as soon as I saw those words, I was like, what does that mean? Now, when I Googled what that was, and I found out if I have this professional thing, there's this private app store type of thing that you can have for your workplace group. And it's like, okay, it's going to be in that. Now, maybe eventually, this will be something that maybe we like an add-on we could add to our AppSheet account, or maybe it's you know what I mean? I don't even know. But it sure seems like in the beginning now, it's probably solely for the workplace people, which is like, the enterprise account, really expensive. I think it'll be really dope when it comes about. Like it'll be really, really cool. But yeah, I don't foresee that happening for regular people. I don't foresee that being a benefit to us. Like I don't, if you're like, I can like feel that the anticipation is like, cool, I'm going to be able to make an AppSheet app and deploy that in the App Store. And it's a chat thing. And the chat thing works like the app. So I don't have to do the app. I can just do a chat interaction, and that'll work like for the app. Like, I don't think that's going to be a thing. Like, maybe eventually in 3 years or 5 years, but like, it'll be a while. It'll be cool though. If you have a marketplace thing, like I have one client that's got this already set up. They're doctors. It's a telehealth medicine app where we're making recommendations for what somebody should do, what treatment should happen for a patient. I can already see like my doctor clients are going to eat this up. They're going to love this. Like, okay, so you're telling me now the functionality is type in the name of the patient and then it'll give me all the relevant information. And then I can just chat, and we're done. Like, they're going to eat this up. And the functionality, like the simplicity of that interaction between the data source with the chat app, like if that's as smooth as everybody wants it to be, if it's as easy for me to do complicated things with that in an easy way to where it's like, and like, holy hell, look what I just did. Like if we can do it like that, this is going to be amazing. And I really look forward to it. All right, that's all I've got for today. Let's go over here. Hey, thanks for being. You know what? Let's do this. I'll give you the fun time Cinewhoop stuff again once more. Thanks for joining in, everybody. Hey, I bet you're struggling to hear me because I took off my lapel mic. Hey, little technical difficulties here at the end, but hey, you know it is what it is. I do appreciate everybody sticking around. This has been a 2-hour stream. I'm kind of liking this little like 1-hour chat thing at the end. I might make this a regular thing. Let me know in the comments below if you think this would be a great addition to this live stream that I do. But anyways, like I said, I appreciate everybody sticking around, all the chat questions and everything that you guys got, this sort of stuff, the interaction, it's what it's all about. Thank you for being here. Like, subscribe, do all that stuff. I'll see you next week.